Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to KHM Today, your weekly resource for industry news and straight up fun. Did I say your weekly again? I did. It's bi-monthly. Bi-monthly. I am your host, Carolyn Orff, and today is April 2nd, 2025. I hope you had a great April Fools. It was the first year I did not try to play a joke on my kiddos, so I guess we're just all getting a little too old. You guys, spring has sprung. I got snow last night. I don't know about you guys. So my bulbs popped and then they've crushed right back down. So that's spring weather in Colorado. I hope you guys are enjoying the nice spring weather. It is busy out there. Spring break is still in effect. I hope you guys are all doing well and your clients are having a great time on vacation. Just a couple of thoughts. Hi, Mandy. Great to see you. Just a couple of thoughts before we get started. You guys, Destination Success registration is open. And I'm telling you, this is not going to be like any event you have seen before. We have so many suppliers. We have an enormous trade show. But I have to tell you guys, I've been getting in the submissions from suppliers about their presentation sessions. And I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. Someone named their session, "It's Not Your Grandma's River Cruise Line." And that is Riviera. And so I'm so excited. They're being creative. They're looking to make us laugh and also learn at the same time. So registration's open. Sign up now. Hello, Pamela. Great to see you. Annie, it's always wonderful to see you. Okay, a couple of news headlines, you guys, before we jump in with our young professionals today. Adolfo Perez from Carnival Cruise Line is retiring after 43 years. You guys, this is a wonderful gentleman who's been so pro travel agent for so many years, but we wish him the best. But we just, it's going to be interesting to see what those leadership changes are at Carnival and who kind of takes over that role of being, the champion of the travel agent. So it'll be fun to see, but we wish Adolfo all the best. Big news, guys. Jeff Bezos' wedding in Venice in June, end of June 2025. So it's coming up. Check your client bookings. Now, I've reached out to some of my sources just to see. It makes me sound like a CIA agent. My sources to see, like, are they nervous about existing bookings? And I've been told no. Venice is used to this sort of stuff. They can host large events, and it doesn't need to disrupt the entire island. So, they're resting easy. They feel like good. And as long as your clients are confirmed, they should be in good shape. So we'll see. I'll be on pins and needles a little bit, but I'm not changing my clients' plans. And finally, our thoughts and prayers, of course, go out to all those in Asia that were impacted by the earthquake. Very scary. Be proactive with your clients. Inform them of what's happening in that area for any upcoming bookings and how their travel might be impacted. But this week, I am excited to discuss the topic of being a young professional in the travel industry. So please welcome to the stage Rebecca Smiley, Tim Davis, and Emily Foggio. Hello, you guys. Emily's coming to us from the airport.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here, Emily. I think this is your first time. Rebecca and Tim, this year you have been here before, I believe, right? Rebecca, you've been here before. I know Tim has. So would you just introduce yourselves real quick and just kind of tell everyone where, how long you've been with KHM, how long you've been in the travel industry, and just a little bit about yourself. Rebecca, you want to get started?
Sure. Yeah. I've been in the industry for about 3 years now. I'm based out of Covington, Kentucky, which is like right by Cincinnati, Ohio. So I can see that from my house. And I came from higher ed before that. So it's been an interesting transition for sure, but it's definitely fun. And I love being a part of KHM. I've been with them the whole time.
Awesome. Tim.
Hi. My name is Tim Davis. I am in New York City now at the moment. I'm a bit of a nomad. I've been jumping around, but I'm in New York City now. I'm with Loveland and Sea Travel, which is based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And I have been an agent for coming up on 3 years now. And it'll be my 3-year anniversary with KHM as well.
Okay. And Emily, live from the airport.
Hi, my name is Emily. My business is Explorable Travels. I've been with KHM and a travel agent for about a year and a half now, so still kind of fresh and getting used to things, but I've had some really great friends kind of helping me out along the way, so shout out to Rebecca. But yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go
No,
ahead.
but
No, no.
I got into this business because I'm a full-time occupational therapist and needed to shift some gears, and here I am.
And so you're still doing that part-time, but you really focus some of your energies on the idea, not the idea, the element of accessible travel.
Indeed, yeah, I have. It's been a whirlwind. It's different than obviously than standard travel because it's a little bit navigating policies and laws and what my clients are looking for as far as like transfers and hotels, because not everywhere is ADA compliant, because ADA compliance only here in the United States. So yeah, it's been something different. It's been interesting, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a fun process to learn.
Great. All right, you guys. So I'm excited because I don't think it's unusual, right? This is a commission-based industry, which is hard for anyone. But I think it's particularly difficult for people who are young professionals looking to establish themselves in a career, not only as a professional, but also financially stable. And commission based is not always the one that we're all saying, ooh, go towards it because this is the path, right? It's nerve wracking. And I think sometimes we think if you are doing this certainly full time, you are reliant on that income and that income alone. If you don't have a partner to help support that. So I want to have this conversation because I want people to know that it can work, that it is a little scary, but it's also it's not unattainable. So I kind of, if you guys are up for that conversation, I know it's kind of a tough one, but Rebecca, I know you are working your business full time. Can you kind of explain like when you decided to make that leap, or was that always the leap? And what do you do day in and day out to make sure that you're on that trajectory to being sustainable? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, it does. So I worked full time, like I said, in higher ed before I started. And when I quit that job, I was a little bit scared to like quit a salary cold turkey, so to say. So I actually worked part time as a bartender. And my advice generally to people when they're starting out, if they're wanting to transition to something full time, commission based, is to do something that maybe they don't care about as much. I know that sounds kind of bad, but I wasn't planned on having a career in bartending. And I told the bar that I was working at from the jump, this is the business that I'm trying to start. This is just kind of helping me get started, I guess. So my focus was always my business. And then I was able to kind of use that to get me there. As far as like staying consistent, that's hard. I think everybody experiences what we call wave season in the industry. I think summer travel is very much so a thing in the Cincinnati area. I'm trying to convince people otherwise, but so January, I think I made $200. I was not much to live off of. I'll say that. So you have some months that are definitely bigger than others, and I think you have to try to plan ahead from that. For example, if I book like a wedding or something and I have a big commission check, I try to like pay off a bill kind of long term. So maybe a car, maybe we put a big chunk of that down so that I don't owe a car payment until next June or something like that. So that's one thing that I can think of that kind of helps me maintain, even though I have a really weird and inconsistent paycheck schedule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was the conversation like when you decided to do this? I happen to know your significant other, and he's fantastic. Was it a little bit of a conversation? Like, how is this going to work? How are you going to work to continue to push forward?
Yeah. So for us, it was very much so like a time limit type thing. He said between us, he was like, if you're going to do this, I have one rule and one rule only. You're not doing it halfway. And so he's like, we're going to give it a year and it's either going to flop or it's not. And so that kind of gave me the kind of fire underneath me, I guess, to either make it happen or not. And then we would reevaluate at that kind of year standpoint. He was like, you know, I can take some of the flack for that long, but again, we're young professionals, so it's not going to last very long. Like we can't do this for very long at all if you're not making it, kind of thing. So we would need to consider a quote unquote normal people job after that standpoint. So I had a year to really kind of make it happen, essentially.
We're going to come back to that point in just a minute, but Tim, I know you're also doing this full time. So was that always the plan? Has that been the plan? And what does this journey look like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely always the goal, for sure. But I also knew it was going to take time. And so I wanted to give myself like a radical amount of grace for however long it did take. And that's different for everyone. For me personally, I don't have a partner, so I am self-supporting. Because I am a bit of a nomad, and I was an actor and performer in my previous life. So my community is poor actors. You know what I mean? I didn't have family groups to pull from, or church groups to pull from, or school groups. Really, you know, I knew it was going to take time. So I did work a separate job in hospitality before at the beginning, and tried to really focus on social media for marketing. And eventually that did work, and I had a couple things take off, and it actually thrusted me into full-time work way faster than I expected to join it, which I was very, very grateful for. But then I was working 14-hour days, 7 days a week just to keep up. So we really swung that pendulum really far. Yeah. And then now we're on the other side of that, and things have slowed back down again. And I'm in a really interesting position where I'm saying, okay, how much did I work last year? How much did I make last year? Was it worth that time? How do I shift moving forward? To work smarter, not harder, I guess. And am honestly considering picking up another piece of work to alleviate some of the pressure from this business being the only source of income while we're in the weird economic transition that we're in. I think everybody knows everything is 3 times as expensive, but no one's making any more money. So that pressure, I feel that as a young professional for sure. A lot of clients who traveled with me last year are not able to do so this year, or they're being really safe or very careful, or you know, so that affects me, of course. And so I have to try and fix, okay, who am I targeting now then? Are there people who maybe aren't as impacted by the economic situation that I could earn as clients of mine? And should I then also pick up another source of income in the meantime until we sort of figure out what's going on?
Yeah. Emily, I think it's hilarious that you're moving around the airport there. A gentleman came and picked the 1 seat out of 400 right behind you. So Emily, you're in a little bit of a different situation. You know, your main career, or your career from your college degree, is in healthcare, which is a really stable profession. Yet you pulled back on that a little bit and gone towards something that really isn't very stable. So talk to us about that, you know, I know why you did it, but what does it look like for you, and how did this conversation come about with your partner?
You know, it's I feel like my plan is also changing day to day. Because again, background, I work as an occupational therapist in inpatient rehab. I started in 2020, which is a fun year for all of us in multiple ways. And
Emily, it looks like your AirPods have disconnected.
Technology.
I know. You gotta love it. Yeah, because we're just here in the airport. All right, we're going to come back to her. We're going to come back to you and learn about your journey. But I want to talk to you guys about next is your client population. A lot of people think that because you're young professionals, your clientele is you. Is that the case for you, or is that not the case for you? Tim, let's start with you.
Yeah, I would say a majority of my clients are within the 25 to 40 range for sure. And maybe that is, again, for me, because I use mostly TikTok and Instagram to market, that's maybe the majority of people who are on that app. Or who may connect with somebody like me, someone with my personality. My handle's the travel agent. I'm not really hiding anything there, So I do find that window to be the most popular, with a few people on the younger side and then a few on the older side as well. The demographic financially, I feel like, can be a little bit different, but for the most part, everybody is, they're willing to maybe spend a certain amount for a honeymoon or something big like that. But then for a yearly trip, if they're even able to take something like a yearly trip, it's a more reserved number.
Okay. Emily, we're going to come back to you and see if your sound's on. But Rebecca, do you feel like your clientele is you, or are they different?
Yes and no. So I think most of us here are at the honeymoon-ish age. So I get a lot of the like weddings, honeymoons, things like that. A little bit of baby moons now that I've been in it for a little bit. But so yes, but I also I feel like I'm pretty well connected in my community, and I've been really blessed with my family really kind of spreading the word about me also. So I have a lot of my parents' friends that I work with, my grandparents' friends that I work with. So probably not as many of those like organic leads, I guess, if that makes sense, that are older. But I get lucky every once in a while, but for the most part, they somehow know me through somebody else. So I would say mine's a pretty good mix, honestly.
Which I think is important, right? Because I think sometimes when we think if our clientele is only based on people like us, we might not make as much money as maybe we could, right?
Yeah.
Seeking outside of people who might not fall into our same
Sure.
range. Emily, let's see if our AirPods are back. Go ahead and talk. No. That's so weird. It was working. Oh, now you're there. Now you're there.
Oh, are we good?
Yep, we're good there. Yep.
Oh, okay. I'll do it really quick then, just in case. Yeah, so occupational therapy, I thought it was a real love of mine. I love to help individuals get their independence back. And I was seeing a lot of individuals who thought that their life was completely over and that they wouldn't be able to travel again. And so basically I had a patient that all she wanted to do was go to Disney World. And she, the year prior, had cancer. And then she broke her hip 2 years before she was supposed to go on her trip. And I was like, no, you can go to Disney. We got this. So we just did an entire accessible trip. And I was like, hey, I think I can do this as a profession. This is really cool. And then a couple months later, I signed up with KHM and came to boot camp. And I was like, this is it.
I remember
this
you.
Is awesome.
I remember. Was there a fear? Like, what did the conversation look like with your significant other in the sense of, I'm releasing some guaranteed income and I'm going into this realm of no guarantee?
Yeah, so there were about a good 8 months of me working both jobs, pretty much like full-time and learning. And when you're working at the hospital, I leave for work at 6:30 in the morning. I get home at around 3:30, 4. And then I come home and do research, and my husband takes care of the house and does the dishes. So he's wonderful like that. And then we made the conscious decision of my husband saying, you know what, I think you've got this. Like, why don't you just go for it? And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I got it. So he's like, you love this. You're good at it. Let's move forward. And so he put complete and total trust and faith in me. And I was like, okay. So June of last year, I quit my full-time, and then I work what we call PRN at the hospital. So as needed. So I still currently work in inpatient rehab, working. I'm going to mute myself for a second.
It's not you.
That is amazing.
Life of a travel agent. What can we say?
Yep. Gotta be somewhere.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. I mean, active, we're always traveling. But yeah, so I've been going full time with it since June, and I love every second of it. Of course, there are like stressors of it financially because, again, I'm still in my first year and a half of things, and I really didn't, like everyone else, you don't start making money until like a couple months later. So I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure out that financial situation. So we kind of figured out if I can do like 2-3 days a week PRN, then like we can kind of manage enough as my business kind of continues to grow.
So jumping off from that, you've mentioned a year and a half. Rebecca, you said you gave yourself a year. Tim, you've been at this for 3 years. What does that look like when you say we gave it a year to either make or break? What determined the make or break? Like, were there benchmarks that you felt like you had to meet as sales goals, or knowledge or understanding? What did that look like?
Well, for me, I worked in higher ed, which you don't make a lot in higher ed. So my goal was I had to make as much as I did there or more, and then I could keep it. So, for some people, that's not that big of a goal, but, that for me was what made it excusable, I guess, to continue on. If I wasn't going to be able to fit the same salary, then I wouldn't be able to make it work. So that was my benchmark. And that was pretty much the only one for me was that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like again, I didn't give myself a time limit at first or an amount of money first. I think I was going to let that sort of come organically. And now that we've pushed far past that, the goal was to pay the bills. Of course, that's always been, again, as an artist, that's all I've ever wanted, is to pay the bills. But now it is a little bit more. It's like, well, I'm managing that, but I want to be able to go on fam trips, or I want to be able to go educate myself in these areas. And I need the extra, I want to come to Crystal, and I want to come to all of our KHM events. And all of that is extra discretionary funds that I don't currently have. So, kind of analyzing that as well and saying, okay, how long do I, keep going down this road, and what changes can I make in my marketing to get a different demographic of clients and see what kind of money that brings in. But again, we're working 8 to 10 months in advance. So, when am I going to see that?
Right.
And how do we make the decision on how to have maybe we need a second source of income? I think I'm still managing all of those thoughts right now. So that's the goal. We're paying the bills now, but I want more. I'm greedy. I want more.
Well, I have to just say, I'm impressed with the mindset and the thoughtfulness that you guys are putting into how this works and how it might not work for you. And what do you have to either do or give up to stay afloat, right? And I think sometimes people forget about the give up part, right? And that's not giving up. It's some of those sacrifices. I can do this, but I can't do that. And that only creates a very sustainable and thoughtful, true business, right? We just can't go and do all this stuff and expect to stay afloat. Emily, you said a year and a half, you kind of worked the 3 days PNR. What benchmarks have you set for yourself to be able to say, okay, I'm going to either give that up completely, or I'm doing it I can't imagine you giving it up completely, but I can go down to 1 day a week or 2 days a week.
Yeah, so the goal is kind of at this point, like every year, to kind of step down 1 day from the hospital. So right now, like I said, it's kind of at that 2 to 3 day mark. If I don't think I'll ever leave the hospital fully, because I think it's really important to constantly be educating myself and having like my finger on the pulse in that way. I also worked really hard for my degree, so it's kind of hard to give that up as well. So I don't know that I'll ever completely leave as an occupational therapist, but if I could work 1 day a month at the hospital, I think I'd be great.
Well, and let's face it, the fact that you do this job is one of the reasons why people listen to you when they talk about their trips and the accessibility of it, right? You have not only the travel agent knowledge, but you have the physical knowledge that comes into play. And I think that's, I kind of call that the dark horse, right? You've got those two elements that combined together really make you knowledgeable in the area. And that's when people are traveling and they're nervous about some of their particular needs, they're looking for someone who truly is an expert. And you've got that extra thing.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the marketing that you do. Tim, I follow you on Instagram and I love your stuff. is social the way that you go about it, or do you do other things?
Yeah, I would say has been recently, at least, mostly social. But I'd like to even change that up too. I'm thinking I'm going to join a walking group in New York this summer, and try to get in person with people and really build an in-person community versus a virtual community. I think both are equally important. But social media is ever changing. And, TikTok, which was one of my main sources, may disappear next month. And that's something that I have to be aware of, So I certainly want to diversify that. The content comes and goes. I get spurts of energy where I make a lot and then I'll go 6 months and not make anything at all. So I really need to work on a regular schedule on that front. And I think I think it may be beneficial for us as young professionals, especially if, again, we're trying to reach out to a different kind of clientele than ourselves, to rather than, or I should say, instead of only advertising, these are my general services, or say things like, wherever you want to go, I got you, really making it more specific. And maybe not even just in destination, but maybe it is in price tag, or maybe it is, I'm just going to hound river cruises for the next few months. And hopefully, eventually, the internet algorithm will put me in front of the right people who are also Googling river cruises, and do a little more specificity in that case. So that's my goal with marketing moving forward, is be more specific.
I love it. So I was just in New York City this past weekend, and we were walking the Hudson River Trail, which is one of my favorites.
Yes.
And there were all these running groups on Saturday because it was 80 degrees out, right? And one of the things, my daughter's living there right now in Brooklyn, and she said, Mom, there's all these posters up for these running clubs, but they tell you we run at a 7-minute pace. And she's like, in what world? She's like, where's the flyer person that does the 12 to 15-minute mile?
Right.
I couldn't keep up. So as we were walking, I just kept wanting to yell, that's not a 7-minute pace, pick it up. That's not a 7-minute pace. I would agree with you. In New York City, they have all sorts of those clubs for walking and biking and all sorts of stuff. I would absolutely, and I'd be wearing a t-shirt or a tank top with your name on it.
Exactly. I need logos. That's my goal today. And then at night, I'm going to go grab a cocktail at a really bougie hotel bar. That's sort of my game plan for the summer.
Yeah, I love it. Emily, what sort of things are you doing to capture your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been doing a lot of one of my support groups. I've been talking with them. Sorry, I'm going to have to leave in just a second after I say this.
I just looked at the clock.
Oh, good. But yeah, so I've been talking with a lot of hospitals and doing a lot of support groups and just kind of engaging them in how to do accessible travel and how to prepare for it. And that is kind of like how I'm getting to my clientele at this point. And then things are starting to spread a little bit. It's a slow grow, but I'm about to do another stroke support group at my other hospital that I work at, and hopefully grow a program to prepare for airport transfers and practicing getting on and off an airplane and getting through TSA. So works in progress, and that's kind of how I'm trying to reach out to people. So social media, I'm not the best at, so kudos to you, Tim. But
your people aren't there. Your people are in the hospitals, and that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
But yeah, also just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on today. Sorry I have to jet off on a plane, but I'll talk with you guys soon.
Thank you, Emily. You guys stay right where you are because I have one more question for you. Rebecca, when it comes to your social media, I see you post all the time. You're really big on posting. Clients must send you pictures all the time because I see a lot of clients sending you their photos. Tell me what your strategy is.
Sure. So I like to mix the two. I know we've talked about kind of in-person and social media, and I think I like a beautiful blend of both because let's face it, both are free. So if we're not taking advantage of social media, then you're missing out on free marketing. And then same with like walking groups and things like that. A lot of them don't charge a fee. So go, just talk about yourself. It's a little uncomfy and then you leave. It's fine. You get a free walk out of it. Great. But anyway, so when it comes to like client photos, most of us, young professionals especially, don't charge a fee yet. So one thing I kind of say to people is, I don't charge anything for my services, and I helped you with this trip. You probably found me on social media. If you can, send me some photos and videos of your trip, and then I can post and tag you. And most people are very receptive of that. And then on top of that too is kind of making some me-centric content also, because at the bare minimum, I hate social media also. Everybody keeps saying that. The amount of people that say that, I get it. Trust me. I don't want to be on my phone all the time either. And I'd hate being on camera. But people forget what you do. Like, how many times do you go to a party and somebody comes up to you and you're like, crap, like, I forget what they do. Are they an accountant or whatever? I don't remember. So you kind of make conversation and hope it comes out. Social media is kind of a way to remind everyone, hey, I'm a travel agent. So that way, when they're thinking of their vacation, they think, oh, Tim always has those hilarious TikToks, and I think of him when I think of planning, or, whatever. So you have to use a little bit of both, I feel like.
I love it. Okay, the final questions for you guys. What is something you do every week for your business?
Ooh.
That's tough.
Oh, that's good.
That's what they pay me the big bucks for. Just call me Barbara.
Yeah.
Here I am saying Barbara Walters. Maybe a little past your prime.
We got it. We got it, Tim. I think we got it. I did.
I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but I will take a trip that comes in, and I will try to plan it with someone new, or I'll try out a new supplier, a new search engine. I'll take an hour and say, I'm going to go through Norway on GoWay's page today, or I'm going to go through Italy on Avanti's page today, or whatever it is. And, unfortunately, a lot of those suppliers, maybe they price a little high for our clientele, but sometimes something really works, and I wouldn't have known. Or even I wouldn't have known that they offered a specific product if I didn't spend the time to go in and just look. We may not be able to make all of the Zoom calls with our BDMs and things like that, but I do try to take time every week and explore a different supplier's, either what they offer, or take one of my trips and say, what would it look like if I tried to plan this using them today instead of who I might normally?
I love that. Rebecca.
I think I need to do that too. What the heck? But no, I think right now I'm in a phase of trying to focus on me a little bit. I know that sounds a little weird, but self-care has been really big for me lately. I found when I first started, I was kind of a workaholic. I mean, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7. That was lovely. So trying to remember it's okay to, go to the gym. It's okay to go for a walk, or not only is it okay, it's something that I probably need to do in order to, be better at business. So trying to really remember, not just weekly, but hopefully daily, to do something for me, not just something for my business.
That was a great answer.
That was the next question. What is something you do every week for you? And I know for you, it's golfing, because whenever I call you, you're always on the golf course.
Okay. I don't know what it is about Carolyn, but I don't golf that much. But whenever she calls me, I'm golfing with my dad. So, but yeah.
I really, is she really working her business? And she is on the golf course.
Yeah.
On the golf course.
So yeah, I try to get outside, try to go golfing, or try to do something with my family and friends. I think, not just staying healthy or staying active, but I'm very socially driven. And so to be not in an office, I work out of my kitchen, if you can't tell. So to sit here alone all day and mess with my computer and my phone, it can get a little bit isolating. So something I try to do weekly, maybe not daily, for me is to either get dinner with a friend, or maybe go to my grandma and grandpa's house, or golf with my dad. And Carolyn catches me on my phone. But
You're next. What do you do to take care of yourself? And what can I catch you doing the next time I pick up the phone and call you randomly?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm also a really terrible workaholic, and I will, because the work never ends for us. There's always something we can do. And so I do fight a little bit of guilt when I close my computer at night. And if I'm gonna watch a show or something, I will most of the time bring my computer with me and keep working while I'm doing it. And so I'm trying really hard to not do that, to separate a little bit. I used to give myself a day where I could work from my bed instead of from my desk, which I'll still do every once in a while, but I'm trying to, to keep my relaxing space and my workspaces separate. I think socially, talking about finances, it's $100 to leave my apartment in New York every day. Like if I want to do anything, it costs money. So I've had to cut that back. But as a very extroverted person, I definitely crave that connection. So I've started to do this thing called shadowing with some of my friends who also work from home, where you basically either you can get on a Zoom if you want, or just call them and you chat for a few minutes maybe, but then you just work together and pretend like you're coworkers in an office. And we'll go an hour or an hour and a half without saying anything. And then I might be like, oh my gosh, this trip, you would not believe. And I get to kind of vent for a second. And then we go back to being in silence again. And it's really like done wonders for me. It really has. Just having somebody on the other side of the call, even when we're not talking, is really magical.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's what I use my TV for, right? My TV's always on in the background. And because I feel like these are my work friends, right? Because I'm not in the corporate office. Tim, I just have to say that it's so fantastic to hear that in New York City, you have both a relaxing space and a living and like a sleeping space.
That is wild.
The apartment in San Francisco, it was all one. It was all one space. I was lucky to have a toilet in another room.
Right.
So I just think, well done, fantastic. You've hit some benchmarks there. If you've got both of those spaces in one place,
I'm very grateful to have a little extra room. Me and my roommates, we all work from home, so we've made a little office and we've shoved all of our desks in this extra room and all work from here. So very lucky.
I love that. You guys, you're so fantastic. And I'm inspired by all three of you for your drive and your passion. And not only that, but you're really good at this job. You're really good at it. And I think that's something to just pat yourself on the back, because having drive and passion is one thing, but also being good at it is another. And notice how I didn't use the word successful, because everyone defines that differently. I look at you guys and I see what you're doing and the impact that you're having with your clients, and you're just really good at it. So well done. I can't wait to see you guys again at a KHM event. We're going to get you there, Tim. But everyone, thank you for joining us. Our next show is April 23rd, and we are talking about what it takes to be a great group leader. So Joanna and Kevin, Terry Engelhart, and Julie Fisher are going to be here for that great conversation. So Rebecca, Tim, and Emily, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.